What if we told you that land bid prices for the core central region, D9, 10 and 11, didn't actually go up from 2018, but actually fell? Hi everyone, I'm Boren and Sini here from STL Properties, and today we would like to share some insight with you on the upcoming project in core central region, Skye at Holland. But before that, it is imperative to understand some of the land bid trends, especially in the core central region. While the general rhetoric is that land bids increase over time, let's take a look at the data to see if it was the case in the CCR. So we have House on Handy sold in 2018 for 1,722 PSF per plot ratio. We also have Iveria 2018, 1,461 PSF for a boutique project. Klim at King Hill 2018, 2,311 PSF. Here on Holland, 2018, 1,703 PSF. Van Holland, 2018, 1,805 PSF. Jervois Treasures, 2018, 1,683 PSF. Avenir, 2018, 1,806 PSF. And a whole lot more, Leiden Green, 15 Holland Hill, Pullman, all purchased above 700 plus PSF.
Okay, so we see more freehold than leasehold so far. So moving on to some leasehold examples, you have Chancery Court at 1,610 PSF. One Holland Village Residences was sold at 1,888 PSF. Well Hill Residences 1,515 PSF. And also the most expensive 99-year land sales in the CCR, Cascaden Reserve, was actually sold at a whopping 2,377 PSF. Now, even if we just leave out the freeholds and look at the leaseholds, we see that actually there has been a drop in land bid in the last few years. If you look at the latest land bids, we have Skye at Holland, 1,285 PSF per plot ratio, River Green, 1,325 PSF, River Valley Green Parcel B, 1,420 PSF, Daniel Road, 1,410 PSF, and Holland Link, 1,432 PSF. So now the question, right? Wasn't the rhetoric always that future land costs would be higher to support prices? Why then did land bid prices in CCR drop? And is there support for current prices today?
Well, part of the reason why land bids dropped in the recent 2 years was due to a couple of factors such as GFA harmonization, which was introduced in 2022, and increase in construction costs also over the years. You may have heard us sharing a little bit about GFA harmonization in our previous project review videos. And in a nutshell, because developers are no longer able to charge you certain areas that was considered strata, such as aircon ledges, they have to bid for land at lower prices in order to cover for these increases in costs. We have seen land bid prices drop in several areas around Singapore, most significantly in the CCR.
So there's another interesting phenomenon. If you notice some of the latest RCR or OCR new launches, like for example the Ori and Elta, the land bid cost was 1,360 PSF and 1,250 PSF per plot ratio respectively, versus Skye at Holland at 1,285 PSF per plot ratio. There's hardly any price gap, and in fact the land bid price in the CCR region is actually cheaper than RCR. Another reason why land bid prices dropped in CCR was also because developers themselves became a little bit more conservative due to the low sell-out rate in the CCR in the past, and also a high supply that is currently stuck in this segment. Worried that the demand will not be able to soak up the units that are released. In fact, we hardly hear of en bloc activity from 2020 till now due to the conservative stance that developers have been taking.
So in recent new launches, there seems to be a certain formula to achieve a high sellout rate, which is keeping quantums affordable by making units smaller yet livable. Take River Green for example, where 2 bidders were sold at 1.45 million onwards, a kind of pricing you used to only see in the OCR. River Green, while being in the CCR, managed to sell out an impressive 88% of its units on launch day. In a previous video on the price gap between regions, we discussed income levels then versus now. We also discussed how the price gap between the various regions were more significant. Affordability was also more limited in the past, while layouts were larger and less efficient, leading to a smaller pool of buyers being able to enter into the CCR compared with now. Will Skye at Holland achieve a similar sellout rate as, say, the recently launched projects Rivergreen 88% or even Linden Woods 94%? Now let's start off with some attributes of Skye at Holland.
Hi everyone, we are just across the road from the actual site of Skye at Holland. So this will be a 666 unit development with 2 blocks all the way to 40 stories high, and we have 2 bedrooms to 5 bedroom unit types. So if you can see the facings on this land plot over here, we are likely to have some facing the new BTO plots, the older HDB flats at the Holland Drive area, towards One Holland V as well as Holland Village Residences, and also towards the GCB enclaves of Fort as well as Holland Rise. This is a total joint venture of 4 developers. We have CapitaLand, UOL, Singland, as well as King Leong, and I can't wait to see you there.
Just wanted to show you guys the actual site of Skye at Holland. And just to add on, the land size is over 133,000 square feet.
Moving on to the unit mix, Skye has about 45% of their units 3 bedrooms or larger and no 1-bedders at all. So you can see that the goal here is to make the units more livable and affordable, not purely for an investment but also not aimed at building units too small as well. We see that the 2-bedders are between 581 to 678 square feet, 2 plus study at 743 square feet, 3-bedders from 915 to 1076 square feet, and 4-bedders from 1238 and 1464 square feet. The 2 and 3-bedders have a clear value proposition here, even for the smaller 4-bedder. Now we know as this is a post-GFA harmonized project, these are actually pretty sweet spot and livable sizes for different bedroom types today, and in fact actually slightly bigger than some of the other new projects out there. With 666 units on a land plot of 133,000 over square feet, the developers were able to build 2 blocks of 40 stories high, which allows for very decent landscaping within the project, and most importantly, I think you guys will really like it, the 100% car park ratio, which is super rare for new projects today. Some highlights are really the views, especially towards the low-lying GCB area or Holland Rise. And even if you were to face One Holland Village at the back, at the mid to higher floors, you will likely clear the shophouses and commercial building below, looking towards Botanic Gardens at the far end. Just note that you will have the new Holland Vista BTOs just south of the plot, though the building is more directed towards One Holland Village rather than the BTO plot.
The development will come with almost full-fledged facilities such as a 50-meter lap pool, leisure pool, yoga room, pets corner, and BBQ pavilions. So this site plan states where the various facilities are, and just to highlight the grand clubhouse where the main function room, gym, and Sky Lounge will be situated is actually a really nice 500 square meters bungalow. The main downside I see about this site plan is that the views may not be great for some of the inner facing units due to a relatively close block-to-block distance of approximately 31 meters with your neighbor. Okay, it's hard for us to emphasize how nice this plot of land is without first showing you some vibes at Holland V first. Location-wise, it's less than a 5-minute walk to Holland Village MRT. And the walk is not a boring walk because it's not somewhere where you don't see anything, but there are actually a lot of shops around and probably dogs along the way as well. So you could also even walk to Buona Vista MRT if you prefer not changing the train on the Green Line, or even just going to Star Vista, which is the next nearest pet-friendly mall after One Holland V. If you haven't been here before, it's not just upmarket restaurants over here because within Holland V itself, there's a huge hawker center. And other than that, Holland Drive Market and Food Center is also pretty well known for their food. And the shop houses downstairs, there are also a whole lot of affordable food options, and you really get to take your pick here. Even for groceries, there are two CS Freshers, one at One Holland Village itself, and the other one at Holland Road Shopping Centre. And if that's not enough, you can even cross the road for Fair Price Finest at Raffles Holland V. Or if you want a typical NTUC, you can head over to Buena Vista Community Centre.
Now let's discuss a little bit more about the prices. One key point we want to highlight here is that the land price for Skye at Holland was sold at 1285 PSF per plot ratio, making it the lowest CCR land plot purchased under GRS since 2019. So based on the estimated prices, we see that two-bedders will likely start from about 1.6 million to about 2.4 to 2.5 million range, which is rather fair for CCR. Three-bedders from 2.5 range to 3.5 to 3.6 million range. Four-bedders at 1238 square feet and 1464 square feet between 3.5 to low 5 million range, and five-bedders 1765 square feet, likely from 5 million onwards. The two and three bedders have very clear value proposition, even for the smaller four bedder. But we see maybe the resistance might start to come in from the larger four and five bedders, at least at the launch, because just from a quantum perspective, the prices are already hitting 4.5 to around 5 million range. So now let's compare Skye with their closest competitor and next door neighbor, One Holland Village Residences. For the purpose of comparison, I will just use two-bedder onwards, as Skye does not have one-bedder units. So if you see two-bed, one-bath at OHV Residences, 689 square feet, ranging from about 1.609 to 2.038 million. The two-bed, two-bath at OHV is from 797 square feet all the way to 1087 square feet, ranging from 1.85 all the way to 3.213 million. So these varying sizes and larger sizes may actually provide a household shelter, but they don't necessarily provide the same function as a study area that Skye has for their 2+ study. The units at OHV are either the same price or more expensive than Skye, even though it was an older launch. At the point of filming, the Skye layouts right now are still in finalization stage, so we actually only have unofficial drafts, hence unable to show you the official layout. So please WhatsApp us if you actually need a deeper analysis of the layout comparisons. You will see for OHV layouts, the 797 square feet, the kitchen is actually open, balcony is very huge, and also for some of the 947 square feet, actually a lot of the space goes to the wasted PES area. So for three-bedders, we have seen a unit having transacted at around 3781 PSF in the sale market, which we certainly hope that the developers for Skye do not use this as a benchmark. But that being said, the three-bedders have already transacted between about 2.56 to 3.44 million for the smallest 1098 square feet, and up to 4.68 million for the 1238 square feet three-bedder, and even 5.11 million for the 3+ study. For this price, you already could be looking at a 4 or 5 bedroom premium at Skye at Holland. And you'll see that there's actually quite a bit of inefficiencies in the OHV layouts, with balconies being extra large, quite a bit of foyer space in the 3-bedroom premium, and of course the aircon ledge space, which for Skye will not be counted towards your strata area. The 4 bedrooms at OHV Residences were also transacted at a much higher quantum, between 6.41 to 11 million. While this may look like a bigger layout, right, there are actually quite a bit of inefficiencies in the layout. The baseline of this 4-bedroom unit, right, you can actually already get a very efficient 1765 square feet 5-bedroom premium at Skye at Holland. From here, we can actually see how competitive Skye is compared to its neighbor, being a post-GFA harmonized project, brand new plot with superior layouts as well as quantums.
So apart from just the closest neighbor, One Holland Village Residences, we have also compared Skye against past year's transactions from surrounding projects such as here on Holland, Parvis, and even the older ones such as the Mera Saga. in our PSF and quantum gap analysis versus surrounding resale transactions in the area, we see that for each unit type, Skye is priced lower than the highest transacted in the area and even lower than the median and average prices of resale properties in this area. Most evidently, the 2-bed 1-bath, 915 square feet 3-bedder as well as the 5-bedders are at a negative 102, 162 and 123% respectively.
Now let's take a look at profitability, supply as well as exit scoring. If you would like a deeper explanation of our framework, you can refer to our Parktown analysis video, which will put the link in the description below. If we look at the overall average profitability of the surrounding resale projects based on past 1-year transactions, we can see that profitability is actually generally quite healthy. For 2-bedders, average annualized profitability is 3.79%, 4.37% for the 3-bedders, and 3.54% for the 4-bedders. One very interesting thing to note is that if we go down into detail to understand the data, why maybe certain developments' annualized profitability seem a bit lower than even 3%, you'll notice one interesting detail. Let me quote some examples like Parvis, Marbella, and Cornwall. You will see that actually this is a very residential area as people tend to stay very long in these developments. The holding period generally is longer than 10 years. Hence, while the percentage may look a little lower when analysed over a long period of time, the individual profit amounts are actually pretty good. Not to mention that the developments in this area can be quite heterogeneous. So we have some resale developments that have large and efficient layouts like bay windows, planter boxes, long hallways, or even duplex type units. They could be very far from the MRT, or they could be facing Holland flyover with a significant road noise. Yet you can still see demand being pretty resilient from the profitability figures, and the fact that there's quite a bit of demand that's coming from own stay buyers is actually great for your exit strategy in the future.
If we look at the exit scoring, our indicator of demand versus supply, the score of less than 200% is still considered healthy as Holland is a residential area. In fact, this number may be partially skewed because there are several new projects that hit TOP status in the past 2 years, such as One Holland Village Residences, Huon Holland, and Leiden Green, which could skew the supply of listings upwards as some investors may typically try to sell within the first 2 years of TOP. Also, we've included projects that are more than 1 km to Skye at Holland for the purposes of our analysis because the condo developments in this area are quite scattered out. In fact, if we scrutinize the surrounding area more closely, Skye at Holland is actually nestled near good class bungalow and landed areas, and hence it's still considered lower in terms of its density compared with more built up areas such as Clementi or Toa Payoh. Just to give you a sense, within 500 meters of Skye at Holland, there are just 714 private residential units in total, compared to say Alta at Clementi with over 1,600 private residential units within 500 meters. This is actually more than double.
So Boren, so far we have been talking a lot about the good points about Skye. Are there any downsides?
Well, there might be some concerns depending on how you see it. For one, traffic does get heavy towards Holland Village Way and North Buona Vista Road, especially during peak hours and lunchtime. So for residents, you can actually take Holland Drive, which is a wider road. Just do note this road as well as Holland Village Way are part of LTA's Friendly Streets initiative, which means reduced speed limits, barrier-free pedestrian crossings with pedestrian priority, road markings and treatments to calm vehicular traffic and encourage gracious road behaviour, as well as wider and more accessible footpaths. And this is how it will look. Also, thus far, we are unable to confirm that Skye is 1 km to any reputable primary schools, although Henry Park might be a possibility here.
I guess another thing is that the pricing is definitely going to be still a tad bit higher compared to RCR projects. And in fact, there are some RCR projects that are lower price and could be just within 10 minutes drive away from Skye. So you will get some competition from there. If you have a lower funding range for your property, you may actually want to try our next nearest RCR project launched at Penrith, which is going to be estimated around October this year. And they will offer 3 and 4 bedroom unit types that start from slightly smaller sizes, so a lower quantum will be expected. Do WhatsApp us at the links below for more details of that project if you are interested to learn more.
Lastly, when we talk about exiting, we believe this project would be evergreen and will stand through time. Firstly, due to its unmatched location just next to the mall, with amenities and the MRT within minutes walk. And this is unrivaled because there are just no more land plots left to develop here that has similar attributes. This will be the only GFA harmonized plot with such attributes in this area. Future demand will also come from HDB upgraders, from your next door BTO to Clementi all the way to Tiong Bahru in the west, landed property downgraders, or those from older condos looking to refresh their asset or lease.
So now let's finally summarize what are all the pros and cons we feel about Skye at Holland. So let's talk about the pros first. For Skye at Holland, firstly, it is a big development by reputable developers with full facilities and good views around due to its low density environment. The proximity to MRT and huge presence of amenities nearby is another added plus. It is also the only GFA harmonized plot of land close to the MRT with efficient and livable layouts. Potential attractive prices given it's the lowest land bid since 2019. We have yet to see what the developer pricing is, but based on our estimates, then we are actually quite competitive. Plus the negative gap score that we have shared just now on us being cheaper than actually the surrounding resale projects in this area. We also have strong demand from own stay buyers that's driving the high profitability and also strong rental demand as well. This is also related to the future demand that we can get from $1 million HDB upgraders, as well as finally the last thing, which is a very good plus point for own stay buyers, which is the 100% car park ratio. So moving on to the cons for Skye at Holland. Firstly, we feel that there could be potential road noise and congestion surrounding the development. This is actually quite expected for a development with many amenities and MRT nearby. But I would say the saving grace is that it is still considered a low-density environment compared to many other neighborhoods due to the landed enclaves nearby. Secondly would be the potential lack of 1 km to reputable primary schools. However, many families in this area may already have alumni with the schools in the vicinity and may not need the 1 km. There are also many mature families in this estate as well as families from landed houses nearby for which the school is not their primary concern. The third point that it would be a downside is the competition from lower price District 5 and District 21 RCR projects that are just a few minutes drive away. However, some of these projects may either be smaller projects or may not have MRT or amenities close by. So there will definitely be some trade-offs. And finally, the relatively close block-to-block distance for some of the inward-facing units. For this, we will definitely need to give you a deeper analysis as we expect that prices likely may be more attractive for these inward-facing units. And it may still make sense, especially if you are going in from an investment angle.
Thanks for staying with us to the end. If you haven't booked your viewing slot for Skye at Holland, do WhatsApp us at the links below. We'll do a more detailed analysis into how Skye can fit into your property plan and journey. If you like our content so far, do also click on the like and subscribe button below. For now, this is STL Properties, and see you soon!